Hello, hello. Today we're going to go over Netracell builds, and then I'll show my 4.5 minute run that I got in about 2 attempts. Okay, so these are the three main builds. The times are also listed. I'm going to go into their pros and cons, and then we'll look at the actual builds, and then the Titania run. So Wrathful Advanced Titania, she's by far the fastest movement speed, but the movement is hard to control, and it's pretty easy to die. You basically need to bring Varys in. So Wukong is probably the most brain dead pick of these. The movement's alright, but it's really easy to control. He has good survivability. His killing is a little slow, and ideally he has an anomaly macro, but even if you don't have one, he can be relatively quick, like usually sub 6 minutes. Alright, so Nezha obviously is the fastest killing because it's a 40-meter non-LOS AoE nuke. Good survivability because you can just gate with Warding Halo, and the movement is really hard to control because it's rakta slide macro, and that does mean you need to be on PC, and that also means you need to be able to control that semi-well, but it can be very good returns. Okay, Titania Wrathful Advance. Shards don't really matter. I run 2 casting speed, 3 ability strength, but change it whatever you want. You do want duration and efficiency. Range doesn't matter. You want a bit of strength because, Wrathful Advance. You do need Razoring Blitz. You do want Prime Flow and Preparation. You don't need PSF here. You get immunity from status effects, including Knockdown, with your 1. You do want Wrathful Advance on your 2 instead of on your 3, because your 3 actually draws aggro. It makes the enemy stop what they're doing and come in closer. You'll see I didn't use the 1 or 3 in my attempt. I wasn't thinking. It was only my second attempt, and I wasn't really locked in. You can run 2 cast Razoring Blitz, or you can run multiple cast. I prefer 2 cast, but if you can handle 3 or 4 at 263%, props to you. I recommend Aegis just because it's less fast slinging, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. This is what my Falcor looks like. This is normally power throw instead of galvanized reflex, but we're not running Naramon, and we're breaking up our combo often enough that it's just not worth running power throw in my opinion. Whirlwind, you can actually bring it to a lower level if you'd like. I think 50 is a pretty good sweet, 150 is a pretty good sweet spot for Falcor bounce. Verison, you're using the protective sling. So what that means is you can make your Warframe invincible when you come back in for 5 seconds. That's just good for extra survivability. So let's say I lose my shield, I can just come in, and now my Warframe is invincible for 4 seconds. You're mainly not relying on this alone, but you should still be using it because you don't want to die. And if you do end up dying, which you actually see in the run, I do die one time, then you just last gasp and come back to life, right? It only takes like 5 seconds. But yeah, what Wrathful Advance looks like. So Galvanized Reflex isn't built here yet, but it should still be pretty alright damage. Alright, and now the Gal Reflex is stacked. Yep, so it is pretty good. Good room clear, and then obviously she has the very fast movement. Like I said, I run 2 cast, so this level of speed. If you ran 3 cast, it would look like this. If you ran 4 cast, it would look like this. Any of them work. You could even do 1 cast if you want. I would recommend 2, but 3 and 4, if you can handle it, hey, props to you. Alright, Wukong. So for the sake of speed, I use red shards, ideally all 5. If you wanted to just do more slam damage, it would be all purples. Alright, I would recommend cross projection. I'd recommend at least 1 Neramod. And then I would recommend precision intensify. The rest of it, do whatever you want. If you do have about 200% duration and 160% efficiency, you can use the 1 molt 2 Cloud Walker, repeat that infinitely with just Wellspring, which is why I build for this efficiency and duration. But if you want to go less, that does mean you'll need to rely on energy orbs. And if you go more, it means, it means nothing really. You're just going to be overcapped on energy. This is what my Titron looks like. Pretty standard slam build. I normally use Magistar with him, but I like Titron a lot more for Netracells. Obviously, the murmur are weak to electric, and then, it spreads pretty good outside of the circle. And now that only you have to be inside the circle, speed kills are a lot faster. All right, so, Wukong normal stuff, you just do your molt and then you Cloud Walker, and that will give the speed buff. It's fairly quick movement. It's really easy to control. So I understand wanting to use Wukong. The movement's pretty good. As far as slamming goes, so you can do your molt cancel. That just means slamming and then pressing 4. Or you can do animation cancel, so binding it to a key and then tapping that key twice really quickly. All right. You could also set up like a hold macro on your mouse, and that would just be something like this. But yeah, I mean, pretty good. What that would look like in practice is just this. Remember, slam damage is bugged in Sim, and also no galvanized stacks there. But what that does look like is something like this. It kills really well as far as slamming goes, but it's just slower than Titania and also slower than Nezha by a lot as far as the killing goes, not the movement speed. So it's just all right. But yeah, definitely a brain dead pick. Brain dead pick. So yeah, can be very fun if you just want to turn off your brain when doing netracells. Okay, Nezha is just normal Sunder Nezha. This type of playstyle would actually work with any nuke. I'm just using Sunder Nezha here because of simplicity. You can change up Sunder to be Roar because we're actually using first to spread our damage here. Rakta Dark Dagger is used for movement. 73% I believe is the cap on the Riven, so I recommend trying to get about there. And then just as much attack speed as possible. Range does not matter. This is what your Rakta looks like. I'll put up my macro on screen, and then I'll also link Malor's video. He is the guy who found it, or he's the guy who I found it from, I should say. Very cool guy. Yeah, this is what that looks like. So it's about double your normal movement, and it's also just way more maneuverable. So like Nezha, you get stuck into a slide, and you can't change direction very easily. Like you just slow down a lot. Whereas this, you can change direction on a dime, right? So yeah, I would recommend Rakta. It is very good. As far as the actual damage part goes, so Netracells just have a lot of Xmas. Normally, Sunder, like in a group of 20 Xmas, I need about 3 or 4 to be non-Xmas for Sunder to work well. First does not require that. So First will nuke even if they're all Xmas. So the spread can actually be done even on Xmas units or Overguard units in the 1.3 seconds that it's up. And that 1.3 seconds is not affected by duration. So what that looks like is that. So you'll see about half of them die, and then I just do it again, and then oh, my bad, and then everyone is dead. Let's try that again. So Cascadia Flare is stacked now, and everyone died. That's what it'll look like with Cascadia Flare stacked, because Serration does affect the heat damage, as opposed to normally when you have no non-Eximus, Sunder is way worse because it doesn't stack on Overguard. Heat doesn't stack on Overguard properly. So it'll take you like multiple nukes to actually get rid of their Overguard. Which is why I wouldn't necessarily recommend Sunder Nezha and Netracells, because there's just so many Eximus. So I would recommend using Furus there, and then the Rakta Dark Dagger movement, right? Okay, the Titania run. So this was, like I said, just my second run of the day. So it wasn't all that good. 4 minutes, 20 seconds. I ended up dying once, and then taking the Netracell took a whole minute instead of like 40 seconds. But still definitely a run. It is at 2 times speed, so you can slow down the video via YouTube if you want to see it in normal time. Okay, yeah, so these are the teams that use the Netracell each week. You can replace Sunder Nezha, or technically First Nezha, with any other nuker, as long as they can handle Xmas well. Hildren's a good pick. You could even do Saren Spore if you wanted. Sevagoth, anything like that. It doesn't really matter too much. Titania is arguably the fastest, but I use these each week, and I usually get around 4 minutes with Titania and around 5 minutes with Nezha and with Wukong. So, just goof around with it. Um, Play with them how you like. You could pretty easily get a sub 4 with Titania. You could probably even get like a 3-minute 10 or 3-minute 20. I don't think I've ever been able to get a flat 3 minute. And I didn't feel like running it like 20 times. But yeah, if you really wanted to, you could absolutely run this in around 3 minutes. That's it. Adios.